Hello there. This is Julie Crossland speaking, and I would like to present my area for the City is Text project, which is the Brandenburg Riverfront Park. I chose this area because I think it has a lot of social, cultural, and like historical meaning to Brandenburg specifically and to Meade County in general. And to start with this area, I'd like to talk about the area that kind of leads into the park and what I would consider part of it because it has a pretty significant element of why I consider the place historically important. So right here, this is the Old Town Road leading down to Riverfront Park. You make the right turn right there and it goes right into the park. Sorry about that. This street has a lot of very old buildings on it. You can see here Hotel Meade, which is from the early 1800s. And there's some more over here, like a post office from the early 1800s as well. Um, this photo is a bit older, but there's also been some like apartments built around the trees at the end of the road on the left, the riverfront apartments. So there's people living on this street, and a lot of these older buildings have been turned into businesses. So there's still a lot of like activity happening on this street. This right here is a better shot of the old Hotel Mead. I believe the top floor is still used as a place for people to stay. The bottom floor in that left picture there is like this room that holds art classes and sells art pieces. And on the right here, you can see it's been converted into a toy store. Across from it over here, on that left picture, you can see the old post office. That place has been converted into a place that people do yoga, take yoga classes. And here on the right side is a particularly important business, the Jailhouse Pizza. It's kind of the premier business in Brandenburg, the one that gets advertised the most. It's an old jailhouse, which has been, as in the name, converted into a pizza restaurant. And I believe that you can even like pay extra to have your meal in one of the jail cells, eat at like a table that's been placed in one of the jail cells. Um, all right, so once we get past these businesses, on the left side before you turn into the park is this Confederate monument. This has been here since 2017, or well, late 2016 to early 2017 is when it showed up. This monument was originally constructed in Louisville in the early 1900s. And it was there for a good long while until I believe the early 2010s. There was a lot of pushback to the monument in its original Louisville University location. And it led to a discussion of what to do about the monument, and the mayor of Brandenburg volunteered for it to be moved to Brandenburg because it had some historical connections to the town. I believe the person who commissioned the creation of this monument was related to a certain Confederate general, John Hunter Morgan, who like made a crossing at Brandenburg. And if you look behind the monument, there is a kind of mural set up with a number of things which are related to Brandenburg. Well, first here, this is the date of the dedication of the monument that I mentioned earlier. This year, the first mural is about the Meade County Fair, which I believe has been voted quite a few times to be like one of the best fairs, country fairs in the state. That's one of the more famous events at it, the tractor run. This here is a picture of a bunch of boats on the Ohio River, the one that is the one that the riverfront park is alongside. This here is the Confederate John Hunt Morgan's raid. So, as noted there on July, John Hunt Morgan led a couple thousand Confederate soldiers through the town of Brandenburg and across the river to make a raid into Union territory. I believe his expedition got farthest north that anyone ever did during the war. Though I don't think that ended up being strategically important or anyway, and I believe after that raid failed, he like was given unimportant tasks until he was eventually killed. This here is a tourist pocket map, just a picture of the Meade County and a number of like tourist locations over it. This here is a picture of that street that I showed earlier with the businesses on it, specifically from 1965. I don't believe this one specific year is notable, other than the fact that in 1973, less than a decade after this painting, there was an incredibly bad tornado that ripped through the town and destroyed a lot of stuff, including along this street. So that's why we have like a notable picture of before and after the tornado dealt a lot of damage to the town. This here is a picture of a lot of the fish and wildlife that are or were in the Ohio River system. And this here is about how important farming is to some of the economy in Meade County. So that I think finishes the Confederate monument stuff. If we go ahead a little bit, so you can see the monument really far in the distance there. Once you turn right going towards the park, there is a sidewalk along the riverside that has like places for people to sit, talk, or just watch the river. And also along this walkway are two notable statues. This here is a statue of a Native American, and it was placed here because there, as described on this sign, there have been a lot of arrowheads and other Native American artifacts that have been found along the river. And so this statue was put up to just acknowledge the Native American history of the region. Also of importance is this statue here of escaped slaves. And this statue is built to note, to talk about how um, the Ohio River in Brandenburg was used in a number of cases as a crossing point for the Underground Railroad that escaped slaves would use to like reach Union territory or Northern state territory. And some would even travel as far as Canada so that they would. So, for example, the Fugitive Slave Act, just get reaching Union territory wouldn't protect them from that. So some went farther. All right. So these are two also notable signs that are found along that walkway. The one over there, the Great Raid sign, talks about the John Hunt Morgan raid into Union Territory I mentioned earlier. It specifically talks about how they captured a Union boat and used it to cross the river. And then that one on the right, the Great Raid, talks about how they again raided into Union Territory and got really far north. Um, but I don't believe getting that far north amounted to much. All right, finally getting past so that covers the historical stuff. This right here is an amphitheater, which is at the entrance of the park. There's a fair number of events and stuff that it's used for. Around 4th of July, there's called the Big Bang over Brandenburg, which is held, and there's often a band playing music at the amphitheater. This is one example of a band showing up to play music there, and this isn't like a super uncommon thing. There's usually at least a couple of yearly events that have music playing at the amphitheater. Um, to the side of the amphitheater is Buttermilk Falls. This is a 2.2-mile walking trail that anyone can travel down. I believe the falls is because there is a small waterfall that you pass by along the trail. So now that entering the proper park, there are three pavilions spread out over the park labeled here. These are generally just open for people to show up, eat at, sit and talk, etc. But they can also be reserved by groups or organizations for an incredibly small sum, like less than $1. And some organizations I've been in have used in them as such. Gone to ones for like rock painting or just having a cookout. Um, this here is another notable structure in the park, the gazebo. You can see in this left picture that it has Christmas decorations. This gazebo is just a really pretty place to be. I've heard some people have even had weddings performed at it. These two pictures here are of two playgrounds that are on the park, and I think those are important because they are a like location where families can bring kids to just sit and socially hang out. It just is an example of how this park can serve as a bit of a cultural and social hub by having a place for kids to be. This is to like the northern part of the park. There is a boat ramp that some people use if they like personally own a boat. They can use it to go out onto the Ohio River. It also has a bit of a dock portion as well. So this right here is a picture of the campgrounds, which are spread out over the southern and eastern edge of the park. These are a bit of a more recent addition. I want to say around 2015. Um, So these are not designed, these can be like rented for a couple of days to so that people can camp at them. Not pure tent camping, but specifically RV camping. And each of the locations comes with like water, electricity, a little fire pit, and a table. This is just a notable natural feature of the park. You can see in the very distance there of that left picture that there is a road that drives into the main parking lot of the riverfront park. But if you travel along that sidewalk path, it eventually travels into this wooded area with a really pretty bridge crossing over this muddy like creek that extends from the Ohio River. So this next portion, a big element to me of about how this park is so socially and culturally important to Brandenburg, is that there are just a lot of events that are held there, that are places for people to just like have a regular cultural element and also just to interact and talk with each other. This right here is one example. A annual car show happens at Brandenburg Park specifically to fund a memorial scholarship for a Meade County student who sadly passed away during high school. Another notable event at the park is the Brandenburg Civil War Days event, a Civil War reenactment that happens biannually and draws pretty big crowds. This is another event at the park, one Tucker at a time. It's basically just a free event for kids to hang out, play games, play bouncy houses, eat food, just do a whole bunch of good stuff. Um, And this is a much more recent addition. There's even like new events coming to the park. I believe this year might have been the first time this event happened. The Pumpkin Walk is an event where kids can show up and for free can just like carve out, provided with pumpkins that they can carve and draw over. They can keep those pumpkins for themselves, or alternatively, they can like put them on the Buttermilk Falls Trail so that people walking along it can see the work that these kids did. I think it's a new event, but I think it's really neat and a really fun way to have people like get involved and have fun during the holidays. Um, to kind of like conclude here, I really picked Brandenburg just because it's again like a social it's there's a lot of historic elements that are in or very near the park, pulling back to like the Civil War history of the town. And also all of the events that are held in the town serve as these really nice cultural and social touchstones. Personally, I have a lot of really fond memories of Brandenburg Park. Like I've gone here for 4th of July. When I was like in elementary school and I played soccer, those soccer matches were held at the park, though I think those have been moved. Um, I don't know. I just think in general that this is a really special place in Meade County. So that's why I wanted to highlight it. Thank you.